Broadcasting from the KC Coyote Studios, you're listening to Kearney Live on 102.7 KPGZ. Kearney Live is presented by Kearney Trust Company. Kearney Trust, 310 West 92 Highway in Kearney. The phone number is 816-628-6666. And now here's the hosts of Kearney Live, Mike Davis and Jim Dickerson.
Happy Wednesday and welcome to Kearney Live. I'm your host, Mike Davis, along with Jim Dickerson and producer-engineer Brian Watts, who does everything on the planet you can imagine.
That's not true.
It is true.
Everything?
Everything you can imagine as it pertains to running a radio station.
In Kearney, Missouri.
Because
Right.
I had a lot of imagination going on right there.
He is multi-talented, and he is always multitasking as he is right this moment. And I have to tell you, if it were not for Brian Watts, we wouldn't be on the air. I'm pretty sure of
That much is true.
Right? I'm not sure any of us in here could manage.
Oh, Jim.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Well, today we have a guest who
Hang on.
Wait. Whose show is this? You go right ahead. Jump right in there.
Before we get to that, I just wanted to say, over the weekend, and I know you don't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it.
Here we go.
Over the weekend, our illustrious host, Mike Davis,
I am illustrious.
participated in the Opal Wapoo gravel grinder race. And for those of you who don't know, there's three different races. It's off-road. There's a 20-mile, a 52-mile, and a 100-mile. And Mike did the 20-mile, which is called, anybody? Bueller. It's called the Baby Poo.
Right. And Philip Shearer was the gentleman who...
He and his wife, Stacy, and they put
Right.
it together. So...
well, Phil came up with the name. And in,
Right.
and in fact, get it? Wapoo.
Baby
Poo. Right.
Little humor there.
And
so,
but
here's the thing. When Mike did the Baby Poo, and we did a show, earlier that I think it was on Friday before the Saturday, and I kind of made fun of Mike, Baby Poo and everything else. I went out there. I was actually out there I was helping with the race and doing some other stuff. I did not participate in the actual race, but I will tell you.
Why not?
Well, I'm getting ready to explain that. The course out there, the 20 mile, the 52, and the 100 mile, unbelievable. The hills, the gravel, the terrain, and then later in the day, if you remember on Saturday, the heat.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that came into that. And so I got to say, Mike, I made a little bit of fun of you on the Baby Poo, but holy goodness, the what you went through, that was quite a feat, even at the 20 mile.
No,
I probably couldn't have made the 20 foot because, but that outstanding job because you finished it.
And
you made it through,
right.
And in pretty good time for the 20 mile.
Not bad.
Everybody I talked to, it was grueling. It was grueling.
Yeah, it is it's becoming a very recognized national event. And if I'm not mistaken, that is their second year, correct?
Correct.
And I mean, the first year was...
And it doubled, it more than doubled in size.
It was wildly successful the first year. And I think the entire town of Excelsior Springs came out for it. And, of course, this was right smack dab in the middle of Waterfest.
Correct.
Which didn't hurt. So there was a crowd there to begin with, but I can assure you from everything I read online just before the race and certainly just after, hats off to Stacy and Nancy and Philip for doing such a tremendous job. I think they did this on their own, if I'm not mistaken. They created this thing,
They
right?
created it. They had a little bit of help, and they had a race director. I think that's what they called him.
Right.
Whatever. But no, it was their idea. They put it together from the ground up, and what it's become in 2 years. And I was actually with them last night, and they were talking about next year and what it could become, and the ability for it to outgrow itself. Actually, it's growing so fast, so they're probably going to have to limit it. But it was a great thing. I heard nothing but compliments from the people.
Right.
The only complaints I heard were like, I nearly died, or
yeah.
one guy said
That's a valid complaint.
I took a header into a pole or something like that. Sounded kind of negative to me,
Right.
but
right.
as far as the coordination and the all the logistics, it was so smooth, and they the riders got free. I think it was they got beer and stuff after the race, which I've always thought was hilarious.
Free beer.
There's nothing like riding.
Price, yeah.
What the guy that rode 100 miles, the leading guy, wouldn't he come in at 5 hours, 7 hours?
He was under 6 hours. I think it was in the 5 hour range.
But a lot of those guys, a lot of those people, and there were women too. There were women teams and everything else. The
fastest 20-mile time was a female. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And but some of those people were coming in at 7 hours.
Right.
That's a work day. That was almost a full work day. Now, I understand at the end of the work day, you want to have a beer.
Right.
I'm a little fuzzy on the let's ride and almost die for 7 hours and have a beer. But whatever, the beer was wildly successful, and I'll throw out Dubious Claims down there at Excelsior did that. And Willow Springs provided a bunch of the food, Willow Springs and Excelsior. So
tons of good
anyway,
sponsors, yeah.
Didn't mean to derail the thing, but a great event.
Not at all.
But congratulations to you.
Thank you, Jim.
That was great.
No, I appreciate that. I'd like to say I'm going to do it again next year, and don't know if I'm going to be in shape to do the 50-miler. But
I will tell you right now, if you do it again next year, I will help in the same capacity I did this year. I'll stand at the finish line and wave my hat and whatever and shake hands and take pictures and whatnot. But
you were helping, and the volunteers at events like that are difficult to round up, and so I always say thank you to the folks that anytime I was ever involved, and I say was in a sort of a past tense when I was racing and triathloning and those kinds of events, you always want to say thank you to the folks who volunteer their time. It is difficult to put any kind of a convention or event together, and today our guest is Alan Altis. And Alan, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I love having you here. You are one of our voice talents on the radio station here.
Correct.
And in addition to that, tell folks what you do in real life.
Well, in real life, I work for the Kearney Fire and Rescue Protection District.
Right.
I'm a firefighter EMT for them.
Mm-hmm. And you, sir, are in charge of the 66th FFAM Convention 2020 right here in Kearney, Missouri. You're in charge of that, right?
Well, I'm one of the people that's helping put that together. Yes.
Okay, so you're going to manage a good deal of an influx of folks from around locally, regionally, right?
Absolutely. We're going to have probably near at least 400 firefighters from across the state of Missouri coming right here to Kearney to visit us here for our convention next May.
And tell us about the convention. I know these are the sorts of things that folks would say, wait a minute, what goes on at a convention? I've heard tell, and some of them are a little, unseemly.
Well, one of the big things about our...
This is a fire department, right? These are firemen. What could go wrong there?
Absolutely nothing. So...
it's going to be a barn burner. I'll tell you that right now. Okay,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm out.
So, well, all righty then. Every year, the Firefighters Association of Missouri hosts a convention, and it does move around the state.
Mm-hmm.
Different fire departments host it throughout the year. Last year, it was hosted down in Sedalia. And this is not the first time it's come to Kearney. We actually hosted it in 2010. So 10 years ago, basically, we hosted it, and it was wildly successful back then.
Mm-hmm.
The folks that came from across the state said, Kearney is a great town. We'd love for you to host that again. So that's what we did. We decided, hey, let's put on that event again.
Right.
So, the event is a weekend-long activity. There's meetings, there's training courses. There is a firefighters competition. It's a friendly competition where we break out some of the old methods, like the bucket brigade.
I like
it. And there's several other different activities.
And for people who don't know, what is the bucket brigade?
That's the old-fashioned way of putting out the fires, with a good old-fashioned bucket, trough of water, and you pass the bucket from one person to the next. And in our contest for the bucket brigade, you have to toss the water on a little house. It comes down off the side of the house, down into a gutter, and then it fills a 55-gallon barrel. And the first team to that fills that the fastest wins that particular.
How many are on the team? Yeah,
there's about 5 guys on that team.
Okay,
and,
I like it.
So they have about a 300-gallon horse trough.
Right.
It's about 20 feet, 30 feet away from the house, and you have to pass the buckets.
There it is.
And it's a highly competitive event. We've got teams out there throughout the state that come every single year to the convention
that have been training since 2010.
They train just about as much as your local sports team. Absolutely.
Now, this is a similar technique you could probably use at home to put out your fire pit.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but a garden hose works better.
Or 911.
Well, yes.
Most people don't want to call 911 and admit, my fire pit's out of control.
We would actually prefer you to go ahead and do that for us.
What happens besides the bucket brigade? I'm intrigued by the competition. What other events are there?
There's a section. It's a event called Replace a Section, where you have a charged hose line. They have to shut down that hose line, break the hose apart, put in another piece of hose, put it back together, and extend it out and knock down a target in a timed event.
Wow,
it's actually more difficult than it sounds.
It actually sounds pretty difficult to me.
I was going to say, I was about ready to call a plumber, not a firefighter.
There's what they call the water barrel fight, where you have a barrel that's suspended on a cable, and the cable is about 100 foot long, and you have 2 teams that are opposing each other, and the idea is to take that barrel that's suspended from the cable and move it from one end to the other. And it's kind of like a tug of war, except for you're using a hose line.
Oh yeah, okay.
So getting wet is a whole new concept in this event.
I like it.
You're going to get wet, very wet, but that's actually my favorite event.
Right.
So that probably explains why you don't have this event in the winter.
Absolutely, yes. You would not want to do that.
Might be interesting.
It's bad enough that it's the first weekend of May, so it can be kind of chilly. So, but you're in your full turnout gear, and it's a friendly way of us getting to socialize with firefighters from around the state. Many of those folks are friends of ours, and we get to see them. This is our once a year time to get to see those folks, and have a little bit of friendly competition.
And so before anybody gets all wound up and everything else, there is a distinct difference between the fire department and the organization that puts all this together. So this isn't something, so before anybody loses their mind.
Who's paying for this, Jim?
Exactly. This isn't something where my tax dollars. So talk to us about that for just a second.
Absolutely. Here in Kearney, your fire protection is done by the Kearney Fire and Rescue Protection District. That's what that little line in your tax bill goes for, and that provides your fire protection, your ambulance services, and that sort of thing. Provides that fantastic facility that we get to work in every single day, and all the expensive equipment that we have. The Firefighters Association is a nonprofit organization separate from the fire district, and that's comprised of all the members that work there and volunteer there. So from our secretary to our volunteers to our full-time staff and also our retired personnel, they are all members of the Firefighters Association. And that's not the only thing that we do is put on a convention every 10 years.
Right.
One of the other things that we do is we help with the MDA, and that's the boot block. And we've raised several $1,000s last year for that, and we'll be doing that again here this coming year. We also put on other events throughout the year. And if you ever see like the Jesse James Parade and you see a couple old red fire trucks, those belong to the Firefighters Association.
Oh, really?
I love those things. Those are great. So the way you guys, put them back together. And
we
stuff.
have our first 3 fire trucks that the fire department ever owned. We found one in a junkyard actually down in Liberty, and that one is being rebuilt as we speak.
And Larry Pratt, he talked about that.
Chief Pratt is very big on our old antique trucks. Then we have another one that's a little bit smaller truck that you'll see in some of the parades. And then we have the first truck that the city of Kearney bought in the 1950s, late 50s. And that was a first brand new fire truck.
How about that?
After we stopped using that truck went away to be used at a department just east of here, Stett, Missouri. It's a little spot that, if you blink, you'll miss it.
Population 9.
Yes, exactly. They used that fire truck.
That one guy. Anyway,
they actually used that fire truck up until about 10 years ago. And it served them very well. And when they were done, they said, "Hey, folks,
you want it back?
You want your fire truck back?" And we said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So that belongs to the Firefighters Association.
Very cool.
And volunteer time, when we're off duty and that sort of thing, we take care of those trucks. And we take those around to parades. It's not just the Jesse James parade that you'll see those in. Sometimes we take them down to the Liberty Fall Festival.
Yeah.
I've drove them over to Weston, Missouri, and it does go down to, those trucks go down to Firefest, which is a antique fire event that's down at the Silverstein, I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. At the where the Mavericks are.
The ice center, right,
exactly.
Right.
So that happens in June every year. So we take our trucks down there and show them off as well. So
did they have a truck, or before the first truck? Did they have one that was like pulled by a horse or something like that?
No, we actually didn't have anything back then.
Really?
Yeah.
There's no fire department.
No, we had some stuff that was hand cart, but I don't really know the history behind that. And the fire department really wasn't really formed at that point in time. So
interesting.
We're talking today with Alan Altis, and you are listening to Kearney Live. Come back as soon as we're through with this break, and we'll talk a little bit more about the convention here, the Firefighter
How about
Convention.
just don't go away?
Stay with us.
Stay with us.
You're listening to Kearney Live.
Say thank you to these local businesses who support KPGZ.
Kearney Trust Company is uniquely Kearney. They opened their doors in 1882 and have been financing goals and dreams ever since. Kearney Trust has a team of experienced lenders and a qualified staff to assist you with all of your financial needs. Your success is their priority. Whether you're looking for traditional checking and savings services, or you need cash management, mobile banking, mortgage, or lending services, Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Information, speed, and convenience are all valuable commodities in our fast-paced world. For Kearney Trust Company, technology is an addition to, not a replacement for the personal banking relationship they like to have with their customers. The people of Kearney Trust Company focus on and try to fit the needs of all their customers. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone number is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And we're back on Kearney Live, and I'm listening to that bumper music, and I mentioned it last week, but I have to tell you again this week, I love that sound. That's the sound of fun, folks. Right here on 102.7 FM. We do this every Wednesday. It's called Kearney Live.
You don't get out much, do you?
Actually, that's true, Jim.
We need to get you a hobby. I thought riding around on the Oval Wapoo would change your motivation, but apparently not. If that's all we have to do. Well, I know what I'm getting you for your birthday. A CD with that
CD
song.
with the music on it.
That's what I'm doing.
We've got Alan Altis in studio. You've heard this all your life. I can't help it. But I just so want to say Alan Alda. And you've probably heard that all your life.
I may have heard that once or twice.
I know.
Yeah,
and please forgive me.
No, it's all right.
My tongue just wants to go that way. It's Altis, Altis.
Trust me, I've been called worse.
Right. Well,
sometimes by Jim, so.
That does not surprise me. But we are here talking about the 66th FFAM convention, and that's the 2020 convention.
That's correct.
Kearney. And by the way, the school has loaned you the facility. So
absolutely, yes.
Some of the goings on will be at the actual high school, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Our opening ceremonies will be held in the theater there at the high school.
Okay,
and then we also will have an expo for all the attendees, and they'll have fire equipment for sale there, and latest and greatest equipment, and other items that may be of interest to the firefighters or their guests that come with them. A lot of times their spouses or their kids will come with them to that convention, and they'll have those set up and that's going to be in the commons area. And then we're actually going to have our banquet on Saturday night, actually in the new gymnasium space, which is cool. Really great. We're really excited that the school district has been so gracious in letting us utilize that facility. Right. It's an excellent example of how Kearney comes together, to support events, and it's really a great thing. The contest event will actually be also held on the fire department property as well. Or the school district property. It will be held out in the parking lot. So
now that's the sort of the part of this that the folks here in Kearney can go attend.
Absolutely, they can come out and check it out and enjoy the festivities of that. And we have a couple other things that are going to be taking place around town that they may find of interest as well.
Oh, do tell.
Absolutely. One of the things that we do every year with the convention is we put on a parade. We think,
I love a parade.
We love a
Here
parade
we go
too.
with another parade.
Absolutely. So
I love a parade.
Indeed we do.
Not only will we have all of our fire apparatus from the fire district on display, which we are very happy and pleased of the quality of fire apparatus and equipment that our taxpayers have bestowed upon us.
No doubt.
And we've got some of the greatest equipment in the area, really. We'll have that on display and rolling right through downtown Kearney.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the other departments in the area will also be joining us with that. Kansas City will probably bring some apparatus up. They did last time, and several of the other adjoining departments as well. Plus, we have antique apparatus coming from all over the state.
Man.
In fact, there's a trophy for the apparatus that has traveled the longest distance to the parade. We've actually won that trophy. We took our one of our trucks all the way to St. Louis one time.
Did you drive it or did you put it on a trailer?
It might have been on a trailer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that I'd want to be driving a 1950 whatever.
We're broken down in Jefferson City.
It's not so much that you would break down necessarily, but it would be a most uncomfortable ride doing 55 miles an hour down the interstate.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So we might have trailered that one, but we've actually taken it all the way over. That was the St. Clair Convention and
BSCC.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we will have other apparatus coming probably just as far. There's apparatus categories for apparatus under its own power and apparatus being drawn by other means.
You've said apparatus a number of times and you haven't messed it up once.
Oh, well, thank you.
That is the voiceover actor.
Well,
I know coming through. I can hear you. Well done. Well
See,
done,
if I were
Alan.
talking about the apparatus under our own power, it'd be the AUOP.
I'd like the sound of that,
Because
too.
if it's a government agency, don't you have to make little acronyms?
We have
for everything?
we certainly have alphabet soup.
Excellent.
That's what
I noticed your group's the FFAM.
Yes, for the Firefighters Association of Missouri. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
But one of the things about the parade is not only do we love showing off all of our apparatus, but we also want our community to be involved in that. And we think that this is a real good chance that the community can be involved in this event that's coming to town. And we are inviting community groups and organizations to join in. So
in the parade itself.
Absolutely.
Well,
so if the Cub Scouts or the Girl Scouts, 4-H, whoever wants to put in a float, we'll actually have that opportunity for them, along with local businesses.
I like this.
We're kind of hoping 102.7 may decide
has their own
float.
Maybe either do a float. We can float Brian down the or
Now,
or perhaps maybe do a live remote or something like that.
When you say
Might be fun.
float Brian, are you talking like attach strings to him and see if we can get him to float above the
whatever you guys can do.
floating up
Whatever
there?
you guys can
That'd
do.
be awesome.
So,
What day is that again?
That's going to be the first weekend in May of 2020.
And so if hypothetically somebody wanted to put a float or a apparatus in the parade, who would they contact?
We will have that information coming out right after the first of the year, but they can also go to our Facebook page, FFAM 2020, and they can get information there, and that's where we funnel a lot of the information. So, but we're going to be going out and talking to a lot of the community groups, the Chamber of Commerce, and that sort of thing. And once we do have the parade sign-up sheets and registration forms and stuff, we'll get that all out to the radio station and have them link up in social media and get all that information out to the community.
So the reason you're promoting this thing almost a year ahead of time is because you want to get all of these other organizations involved. You want to let folks know, put this on your calendar.
Absolutely.
For what's the actual date?
It's May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 2020.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, when you think
it's
about
coming right up.
It absolutely will.
And when you're planning for 400 people to come to your town,
yes,
you got to start early. Luckily, we kept our notes from the last time.
Okay, and in fact, that brings up another question. And I guess 10 years ago, the town of Kearney handled what I would assume about 400 firefighters. Then
we had about 400 last time.
Yeah,
and we filled just about every single hotel room plus hotels down in Liberty.
So restaurants, they got to eat somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the big things about this convention is the fact that this is a economic boom for the city. For it's only a weekend, but we have all these people have got to eat somewhere.
Yeah.
So we've got some great restaurants here in town.
No doubt about that.
I know some of those are sponsors here. So those restaurants, you better buy extra food that weekend. Firefighters can tend to be a little hungry.
All the more reason to promote it early.
Absolutely. And do a lot of them come in with their family?
Absolutely.
So it's 400 plus.
That 400 kind of includes most of the family members, but sometimes we don't capture the numbers for the kids and that sort of thing. So they'll be attending, and going out to events around the area.
Right.
I know the James Farm last year, or last time we had the convention, we had people out to the James Farm.
Yeah.
And, they'll be looking for things to do throughout town, shopping and that sort of thing. So we've got a lot of economic boom for the town that weekend. And it's a good chance for Kearney to show its best foot forward, so to speak.
Right. Now, is this the FFAM? Is this an organization that's sort of, I guess, mandatory for firefighters to join? Is it optional? How's this work?
It's an optional event or association. It's the Firefighters Association of Missouri, and it is a organization that most of the fire departments belong to, and then in turn, basically the members of those departments belong to that association as well. And it's they've got several different missions of that organization. They do firefighter education. They do some lobbying activities for the fire service throughout the state. One of the big things that they actually do is a very unique thing to Missouri. The Firefighters Association is the host organization for the State Fair Fire Department.
Well,
which
how about that?
We are the only all-volunteer fire department, the State Fair Fire Department, that only exists for 10 days a year in the that we know of in the nation. So when you go down to the state fair and enjoying all the activities and that sort of thing down there,
it's not the Sedalia Fire Department.
It's not the Sedalia Fire Department. It's the Firefighters Association of Missouri that are manning all the apparatus. And you have 70 people on average on duty at a time down there.
Yeah.
And every single one of them are giving up their time, their vacation, that sort of thing. And they're going down there and providing that fire protection and that EMS protection for the fairgoers.
Right.
One of the neat things, I think, is the Kearney Fire Department has actually helped with that for several years. And in the past, we've sent fire apparatus down there. So if you were ever at the fair and you were walking through and you go, why is there a Kearney fire truck sitting on the fairgrounds?
Right.
That's why we felt that it was important. So we sent a spare piece of apparatus down there or one of our reserve trucks. And we've done that several times in the past.
Right.
So the apparatus that are provided down there are provided by fire departments throughout the state.
Very cool.
That's something that saves the taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars.
I can imagine.
In providing that emergency services for the fairgoers.
Now, we talk about training as a big part of the mission of the FFAM.
Absolutely.
And, folks are saying, well, no, wait a minute. You did your training. You're putting out fires. I mean, how much more complicated can this get? So talk to us a little bit about the training that's involved.
I became a firefighter in 1994, a couple days ago. And when I became a firefighter, the training was you had to go and get your EMT license. And that was, about 5 months worth of training, going to the local Penn Valley College at the time. And then I had to go take a intro to fire class, which was a weekend event. That was the shortest amount of class that I've done since then.
Right.
Everything's been bigger since then.
Yes.
And we train constantly.
Right.
If you drive by the fire station, you see us out, we're probably training out in the, in the back lot, or you see us around town. Training is a huge, huge thing. And it's become even bigger as my personal career has gone on. the basic classes that you have to become a firefighter have gotten longer and more involved. And, one of the interesting things about our job is the fact that when you dial 911, you want an expert.
No doubt about it.
You don't want someone that has to look up something in the book and figure it out when they get there.
Let me see here. Fire.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Can you Google that, Pete?
That would be under F.
Yes. So, more and more is placed on us demand-wise. Fires have changed. It's actually something that most people don't quite understand. But if you look at your home and what's your contents of your home,
Indeed.
and the construction methodology of your home has changed over the past, say, 40 years, fires are burning hotter and faster.
Well, and the stuff you have in it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So, our parents had, furniture that burned slowly. The old couches, and you were all natural fiber and that sort of thing. Now everything's made out of petroleum products, and very little wood and natural fibers and that sort of thing in your home. It off-gasses some really, really nasty stuff.
Right.
And that's why our fires are burning hotter and faster, and they're much more dangerous. So that helps, meet the need for additional training. And our medical training has become more involved as well. And we're constantly, providing medical training to our personnel. And the Firefighters Association of Missouri is one of those avenues that we can get our training from.
Sure.
So
now, as I recall, and Jim, you might remember this, but I think it may have been when Larry Pratt was on the show, or it may have been someone else I think that we may have spoken with recently who was a firefighter. But it occurred to me that they mentioned that the actual amount of time, the percent of their time on emergency calls was that the actual firefighting was minimized to the extent that I was, surprised. I mean, I thought, wait a minute, I thought that's what you do. But there were so many other calls, emergency calls for a fire department.
absolutely. Ever since the firefighter or the fire departments back in the 70s started doing emergency medical services, our EMS business has gotten certainly much more busier.
Well, as a percentage, then, what would you say that you an actual fire call?
I would say that we're less than 5% fires.
Yeah. It was stunning.
That's kind of a guestimate,
right?
But I don't have the exact numbers for that. But the majority of our calls are EMS calls or rescue calls, and that includes motor vehicle accidents, other industrial rescues, that sort of thing. So our rescue business is certainly the majority of what we do.
So you can, if we talk about chemicals and things in the actual construction and things that are inside a house or even especially in a commercial building where there are chemicals become involved in a fire. But when you talk about coming to the scene of an automobile accident, certainly the training and something like that changes dramatically.
Absolutely.
And there's cleanup often.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Environmental cleanup after, there may be gasoline spilled.
Yeah. And one of the things that we never really know until we get there on a motor vehicle accident is just what is involved as far as chemicals go. There's a major interstate, if you hadn't noticed, running right straight through our fire district, which there's a little bit of everything that moves up and down that interstate on a regular basis, especially with, in the semi trucks and that sort of thing. So that creates the possibility at any given time that we could have some sort of hazardous materials release. And hazardous materials can be something very simple, including diesel fuel or gasoline. So it may not necessarily seem like it's going to be a hazardous material activity, but that can certainly become a situation real quick in a hurry. And we want to minimize damage to property, obviously life. So and environment as well. So
that's when we talk about training then with the FFAM, it is clearly, it covers far more than the act of putting out a fire, which
absolutely
is pretty difficult when you think about it if it's a really, really big fire.
Yeah. So, we've got, and like I said, they're just one of the organizations in the state that provide training as well. The University of Missouri has an extension office that's a fire and rescue training institute, and they put on a lot of the events, and they will be represented here as well for that. So, that's a big deal to us.
Well, I think there's another aspect to this that I would say how many youngsters have seen a fire truck go by. They might be, when they're old, let's put it this way, if they're old enough to speak, they can usually say fire truck.
Absolutely.
And these little guys and girls say, I think that's cool. I want to be one of them.
I'm one of those guys.
Right?
Right. So I actually grew up in a fire department, and from the time I could crawl up onto a fire apparatus,
Yes.
I was like, this is what I want to do.
What is it with the fascination with firefighting that these kids have?
Emergency.
That's got to be it.
Didn't you see Emergency when you were a kid?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well,
I watched every single episode
Yeah.
of that as a kid. Absolutely.
What's sad is I still watch the reruns today
You too?
on Me TV.
I love that, yes.
Johnny and Roy?
And it follows Adam 12.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I've become an Andy Griffith fan again.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it. Yep.
That's a little different, but thank you.
Well, that was part of my era. But I do think there's an aspect to this when you have a convention like that come into town. It does give folks who are indeed looking seriously at a career as a firefighter. And this is a thing that you can go and talk to these guys. Say, where do I sign up? How do I do this?
Absolutely. And that brings us to another thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Kearney Fire Department is one of the leading training organizations in the area for new firefighters.
Right.
We host a firefighter 1 and 2 course every year, and that's the state minimum for being a career firefighter.
Right.
And then we also host an EMT class as well. So we've put a lot of folks through those classes, and they're now career firefighters, not just in our own department, but other departments around us as well. So.
Yeah. Well, let's come back and talk a little bit about that. We're visiting today with Alan Altis, and he is talking about the FFAM, the Firefighters Convention here in 2020 in May. And stay with us. You're listening to Kearney Live.
Programming heard on KPGZ is being underwritten and supported by these local businesses.
Kearney Trust Company is uniquely Kearney. They opened their doors in 1882 and have been financing goals and dreams ever since. Kearney Trust has a team of experienced lenders and a qualified staff to assist you with all of your financial needs. Your success is their priority. Whether you're looking for traditional checking and savings services, or you need cash management, mobile banking, mortgage, or lending services, Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Information, speed, and convenience are all valuable commodities in our fast-paced world. For Kearney Trust Company, technology is an addition to, not a replacement for the personal banking relationship they like to have with their customers. The people of Kearney Trust Company focus on and try to fit the needs of all their customers. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone number is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And we're back on Kearney Live. There it is. We're back on Kearney Live. Hey, I want to thank the folks at Kearney Trust Company, Scott Middleton and Tanya Howes, for being the sponsor. They are the flagship sponsor of this very program. And, you talk about, would this program be on the air without them? Well, it might be, but it wouldn't be as good.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't.
Yep. They help make us
Exactly.
possible.
Alan, when we were talking about education and folks choosing a career as a firefighter, I wonder, and we know how the school district and the fire department and how there's a civic pride where everybody kind of gets along and works together here in Kearney. Are you guys doing anything directly with the school district in terms of, sort of saying, hey, you know what, you've got an opportunity here?
Not that I know of, but there's a lot of other things.
Well, maybe that could happen.
We've got a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. That,
right.
It's kind of hard to keep track of everything that we're doing.
I understand completely.
even though I'm there every third day, it's hard to know exactly. I do know that we do a lot of stuff with the school district on our operations level. So we're constantly involved with something along those lines.
No doubt about it.
And we also do career fairs on a regular basis.
There you go. That's what I was talking
Absolutely.
about.
I know that several of the elementary schools at the end of the school year, they're looking for something to do.
Yeah.
They got that. It's the end of the school year
yes,
thought process.
With a few snow days.
Maybe some of the teachers might be looking for something to do.
I have that every day.
Yes.
Right. We used to watch a film.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, I know that most of the schools, we took our fire apparatus out and talked to the kids.
Nice.
And that's something we love doing. We really love going out and visiting the schools. And it's not just fire prevention. Sometimes it's, talking about, hey, this is what we do.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see the kids, and boy, they like to see those big bright shiny trucks and the flashing lights.
Yep.
I like to see the big trucks and the big flashing lights.
Well,
Can I come by the station later,
Jim? Anytime you want to come by, we'll let you sit in the seat. We'll just take the keys out first.
Turn on the siren.
Yes.
What fun is that?
License siren. Drive it around.
Do you have the old? You don't have the hook and ladder anymore, do you? Where I could Seinfeld it down the
no, we don't have one of those apparatus. No,
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, so I can sit there and go turn left.
Right.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't have one of those.
Yeah, that's probably why.
You talk about careers in firefighting. One of the things that I think is interesting about it is there are generations of firefighters. Now, where did that tradition begin?
It goes back to the volunteer world of firefighting. And, nationwide, we actually have more volunteer firefighters than we have career firefighters, oddly enough. There's a lot of areas, including in Missouri, that rural areas, that fire protection is done by volunteers. Those are folks that carry a pager, and when it goes off, they sit down their job, they sit down their dinner, turn off the TV, hop in their car, run to the fire station, and handle that call, and they don't get paid a dime for that. Wow. So a lot of those are generational aspects. Dad was a volunteer firefighter, right. Therefore I will be a volunteer firefighter.
Right.
The other part of it is it's family. The fire service is a family, and I grew up in a fire station and got to go up and visit Dad when I was a real little kid and get to see the fire trucks and get to see him run out on calls and that sort of thing. But when you're away from your home for 24 hours, we have a whole nother family. I spent a third of my life at the fire station.
I could see this.
And
right.
So, when you're away from your home family, your spouse and your kids and that sort of thing, a lot of times they come up and visit, and they have those memories, of coming and visiting mom or dad at the fire station.
Sure.
And, it's kind of a natural progression. And we have a lot of folks up there whose fathers or grandfathers or all the above were firefighters.
Well, so, I love seeing the firefighters in the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can tell you got the family in there shopping for groceries.
We have to eat too.
Yeah.
So.
And, there might be a half a dozen guys in there, guys and girls that are, shopping for whatever it is you're planning. Who plans the menu? How's that happen?
That is one of the most difficult things in the fire service.
I can't imagine.
That is a difficult thing, right? Because everybody has their own tastes and their own likes and dislikes. So that conversation usually takes place sometime at the beginning of the shift, and sometimes doesn't get settled until dinner time. So, and the apps are out. The guys have got the Price Chopper app on their phone and can look at the sale items, and that dictates a lot of times. When steak's on sale, guess what we're having?
Oh yeah. So, what's one of the favorites? What's a favorite meal around the firehouse?
Oh, on my shift, it's Bobby Burgers.
Bobby Burgers.
Well, one of our guys makes an excellent hamburger.
What makes that special? There's got to be something he puts. It's a secret.
It's a secret. Yeah. So we'll do Bobby Burgers, and I actually I have a secret recipe.
So let me guess. The guy who makes it, his name is Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. So
ring the bell, Brian. That's that was brilliant. That was well done.
Yes,
I'll be here all day.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've been known to make some baked beans that the guys like.
Are those called Altis beans?
No, they're called baked beans.
Allen beans.
Yeah, they have no special name.
Maybe you should change that.
Yeah, well, so
it's all about the marketing.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I like the sound of that though, and yeah, I know sometimes it's difficult for us to figure out where we're going to go to lunch, and there's just three of us.
Yeah,
and how difficult can that be? Well, pretty difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
So I understand. What other things go on in that sort of family relationship as you're, living with these guys?
Well, it's kind of odd that you would think this, but once we're off duty, we tend to hang out. My particular shift, we go on a fishing trip every year.
How about that?
So we'll run down to Bennett Springs State Park and do a little trout fishing, a little fly fishing, and we do it every single year.
So do you have a problem figure out what you're going to eat down there too?
Yes, we do.
The whole thing starts all over again.
Absolutely.
If you catch fish, though, that one, at least one day.
What are you going to have with the fish?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Little Altis beans?
Allen beans, yeah.
The problem is you got to find out where you're going to buy them because the grocery store is different down there.
Well, we come prepared.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, that was,
Yeah.
Should have known.
Exactly.
Well, I like the that whole family aspect of it, and it does. I think it's sort of easy to see. But the other thing that occurs to me too, after 9/11, we all appreciated before 9/11. We all appreciated what firefighters do, and the fact that they're there, and thank goodness they are, and you hope you never have to call one. But I think after 9/11, there was a national awakening of how important first responders have, how important they have always been. But certainly I think a greater appreciation was gained by many of us, if not all of us, when we saw what happened. Talk to me a little bit about how that's changed for you, or were you a firefighter at the time?
I was.
Okay,
yes.
so talk a little bit about how that's changed, that perception.
In our career here in Kearney, we've always kind of held that notoriety or that appreciation from the community.
Right.
Kearney's a very unique community in that aspect. I hate to put it this way, but we've always been loved.
What's not to love, Alan?
Exactly. So, we still continue with that, and we still have, community members that go out of their way to support us, by, everything from a handshake and a thank you to bringing us treats and that sort of thing to the station. We've got some fantastic folks that do that. And, so not a whole lot has necessarily changed for us because we had that before 9/11. And we're very thankful for that.
Well, we appreciate it. I think every citizen does, and anybody, any first responder. I mean, it can be extremely dangerous, and especially responding to an automobile accident.
Yeah, those interstates are.
Yes.
Yeah. Slow down, people.
Exactly. Please move over.
Yes, please slow down and move over.
Yeah. No, it really is. We truly do appreciate what's going on there. But I think it's a fascinating business that really has to be there, and sometimes you are a little under the radar, but there's no doubt about it when the time comes, and you've got an emergency, and Lord help us all, a kitchen fire or something like that starts to look like, I got this. I mean,
call us early.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what are some of that? In fact, that's interesting to me because I would imagine that there are some calls like that maybe somebody was smart enough to say, hey, you know what? I don't know if this is an emergency, but I got a thing happening here. You think you should come here? What happens then? How do you respond to that?
We get those calls all the time. Yeah. And, most of the time, it may not be anything for us per se, but when you're having an emergency, that's a big deal for you. And we take that very seriously.
Yeah.
And mitigation is a big deal for us. If we can mitigate a disaster in your home or your life from getting bigger, we certainly want to do that. It's less work for us in the long run too.
Well, is there a level at which the emergency is? Can it ever be sort of talked through
Sometimes,
on the phone? Okay.
Absolutely. Sometimes, folks call up and that their smoke detector's chirping or whatever. Sometimes we can talk them through that.
Yeah.
Or just run a crew out real quick and address the problem and be done with it and move on with everything. So, if we can't talk you through it on the phone, we'll come and visit. We make house calls.
And then you've got the big bright fire truck with the lights parked out in front of your house, and everybody comes over and you could make some Bobby burgers or something.
Well, but I was going to say nothing says my cooking project got out of control like a nice bright fire truck in front of the house. And the beauty of that is not only do you have that, but for weeks afterwards, people would come up to you and go, "Hey, saw a big fire truck out in front of your house. What happened there, Mike?"
Exactly right.
Well, I was making a Mike burger. And
Either that or it'll show up on the local Kearney
yeah,
social media.
You got that. Yeah.
Yes.
Boy, there's
Yeah.
that
So
now.
that's
Yes.
awesome.
Absolutely.
And that lives forever.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great. All right. I'm going to go cook something.
I know.
think I'm going to go have a Twinkie or something that I
I
don't
know.
have to fire up.
I think we talked about one of the grill incidents I had that was probably similar to that. I had, too much grease built up on the inside of a grill.
Oh, yeah.
And walked away for 2 minutes.
That's
and
all it
came
takes.
back, right?
Yep.
And the thing is just, flames were coming out of the lid was closed down, but every place where there was a hole, flames were leaping out.
Sadly, he was doing this in his bedroom.
But
Flame-kissed dinner. Right?
indeed, yeah. Well, and it reminded me I probably ought to clean that grill
Yeah.
more
Did you
often, but,
did you call the fire department?
No, I didn't. But it was a point at which I thought this could be the first time that I call 911.
How'd you get it out? Did you just
I was
cover
able
it?
to keep it covered and
Do not throw
just-
water on it?
No.
Fortunately, it was a gas grill, so I could turn the gas off. I turned the source of the fire off.
Good step.
And
Good
that-
step number
that
one.
helped.
Yeah. You want a job?
But it was so absolutely alarming to see that kind of flame that you knew that, no, I don't quite want it that well done. And it really did occur to me just briefly, but it occurred to me that I might have to make a phone call to the fire department. Nobody wants to do that.
No.
It's like
we hear that
admitting
often.
at that point. It's like admitting defeat.
No, it
we
does.
hear that
It does.
here in Will.
It does. Tell me more about the FFAM, the 66th. In fact, I like that you did the Route 66 logo, which is really cool. And it says, "Get your kicks at the 66th FFAM convention."
Yeah.
In May
Yeah.
of
In May.
2020.
So mark your calendars for this thing. It's
Absolutely.
on. And I see it here. It's on Eventbrite.com.
That's for the convention goers to go out
Oh,
there
I see.
and grab their registrations and that sort of thing.
Right.
One of the big things that you're going to kind of start seeing, especially our Kearney businesses, is we're going to be coming and talking to you about sponsorship opportunities for the
Oh, I see.
event.
Oh, good.
One of
Yeah.
the things that we do every year is we every convention does is put together a participant book, and that book has information about where things are, what time things are, that sort of thing.
Well, sure.
But it also has sponsorship information throughout the book. And one of the great things is that's a good place for our community to put their business information in there.
We're talking
And-
about business card ads and things
Absolutely.
like that.
And-
Or full page ads if
Absolutely.
you want them.
Yes, we have
okay.
everything from business card all the way to full page ads.
Right.
And that helps pay for the convention.
I see, yeah.
Also that gives our businesses an ability to reach out to the participants and say, hey,
Right.
while you're in town, come by and we've got a great burger here, or, we've
Right.
got some great shopping here and that sort of thing.
Would
and-
anybody have a burger better than a Bob Burger, do you suppose?
well, I don't know,
It's a Bobby burger. It's
Oh,
not
that's
a
right.
Bob burger.
yeah.
Know the
But-
difference.
Yeah, there's some pretty good burgers in this town,
There's no doubt about that.
absolutely. So, but and people are going to need some chow, while they're here in town. So
Right. Other than just mark your calendars for May 1st through 3rd, 2020, where else can they go? Any place online?
there's a page, the FFAM 2020 Facebook page.
Okay.
And I think Brian's already linked that from the station social media pages.
Oh, good.
That's because Brian's on the ball.
He is?
Yes, he
he
is.
knows how to work
So you can go to there, and we'll actually have events on there. Also, all of our sponsors this year are going to be linked straight to our social media page. So as our sponsors start coming in,
What a great idea.
I know. So as our sponsors start coming in, we'll put links on there. So
I like that.
while our participants are here, they can look right at their phone and go, "Oh, hey, I need a place to eat. Hey, looky there. There's one of the sponsors, and that place will take good care of me."
And what are you looking for as far as a float from the radio station? I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to do with Brian.
Brian's going to wear a barrel.
Hey.
Is that what you want?
Suspenders and a barrel.
I've seen that somewhere.
Shaking his head.
Well,
He's frowning.
Not Brian in a suspender and barrel, but I've seen that sort of get up somewhere, many years ago.
It's like a rodeo club.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing what Brian comes up with.
Maybe you guys could do a live remote, and announce the floats.
Well, we can do that, but that's simple. Well, I want to see Brian tethered to a something or however we're going to do it.
I wish we could turn a camera on and watching the disgust
there's no camera on
Brian's face when he shakes his head and he just looks disgusted.
Got 33 cameras in here, and not one of them's pointing at Brian.
You think that's on purpose?
These are brilliant ideas, and he just shakes his head no. He just kills creativity.
That's weird.
Is there an online place you can go to get a blow up Brian?
Amazon sells everything, so maybe Amazon's got one, or eBay or something like that.
I'm gonna Google. Why are you doing that, Brian?
He just held up the cue card that says 1 minute to end. I will tell you this, Alan, it is good to see you in here, and thanks again so much.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, the pleasure is all ours, and let me tell you,
all on this side of the table right here.
On this side of the table.
Thank you, guys.
Particularly, thank you so much, and here's
welcome.
a big thanks, a big shout out to the Kearney Fire Department. Love
I'll
you
make sure all
guys.
the guys
Love
here.
what you do. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks so much. You've been listening to Kearney Live. Join us again next week. We'll see you then.